Welcome to Straight Up Bible Study, where we try to find out what the Bible says and not what religion says it says. So the past several years or so, there's been a trend, or maybe a fad, among pastors where they read the story of the woman caught in the act of adultery, and then they pause dramatically and then say something like, "Where was the man? Why wasn't the man there?" The Jewish law says they had to stone them both, but where was the man? And then they go on to this teaching about, it's just not fair. It just wasn't fair that the man wasn't there. And that's why Jesus had to let the woman go. Nah, not so much. Let's try to find out what this really says. So traditionally, the woman caught in the act of adultery has been a bit of a mystery. Jesus was writing in the dirt with his hands, writing in the sand. And what was he writing? So most people think it's probably a list of the sins of the rabbis around him. Maybe, but I kind of don't think that was it. Part of the problem with not understanding this passage is that among most Christians, there's this concept that the Old Testament has been done away with. That since we're not under the Torah, not under Torah law, that somehow the Old Testament is done away with. All the prophecies have been fulfilled. The New Testament has replaced the Old Testament. And that's not completely true. Now, Christians are not under the law, so that part is true. But the rest of it, not so much. All the prophecies have not been fulfilled. So how could you think the Old Testament is over and done with? The New Testament has not replaced the Old Testament. And the prophecies of, for example, the end of times, the end of days, not fulfilled. Not that anybody's noticed. The prophecies of the Messiah have not been fulfilled. Jesus fulfilled the suffering servant prophecies, but there's a list of conquering king prophecies that were never fulfilled. So you've got the Messiah has to rule the nations, not fulfilled. Messiah sits on the throne of David, not fulfilled. Messiah rules with a rod of iron, not fulfilled. So part of the second coming is so Jesus can return and fulfill the conquering king prophecies. So Luke chapter 1 verse 31, and behold, this is the angel talking to Mary, and behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son, and shalt call his name Jesus. He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest, and the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end. So that's not fulfilled. Even that prophecy in the New Testament of a conquering king has not been fulfilled. Jesus didn't sit on the throne of David, and he never reigned over the house of Jacob forever. So, and that of course comes from the angel was taking, prophecy from the Old Testament and, reminding Mary of it, I guess, but not fulfilled. So this concept that the Old Testament has been done away with is just completely erroneous. Think about the people in the tribulation. When they see the Antichrist fulfilling the conquering king prophecies, which is what he's going to be doing, and they've got people like the 144,000 telling them, Jesus fulfilled the suffering servant prophecies, he's the real Messiah, and they're going to be able to watch the Antichrist on the news fulfilling the conquering king prophecies. That's never happened before. The world has not been given that choice where one Messiah fulfills half the prophecies and the other so-called Messiah fulfills the other half. Wow, they're going to be confused. So how in the world are they going to pick between the Antichrist that they can see and Jesus, who even in the church today is mostly a storybook type of figure in most churches? What are they going to do? A lot of them are going to they're going to go with what they can see. So if you're watching this during the tribulation, the way you know who the real Messiah is in the book of Daniel. The 70 weeks. There's a prophecy about the 70 weeks. Daniel gives a formula for calculating the death date of the Messiah. So it gives you a precise formula that gets it down to the day, not just the year, but like the actual day. And it's in 32 AD. That was when the Messiah was cut off, but not for himself. according to the 70 weeks prophecy in the book of Daniel. So I think it was April the 6th, but don't quote me on that. You'd have to look that up. But that's how you know the difference. I mean, not counting all the other things, of course. So the Old Testament has not been done away with. And what does that have to do with the woman caught in the act of adultery? Well, the answer to what that account is about is in the Old Testament. We don't have to wonder why that story, or it's not really a story, but why that account is in the New Testament. So I want to read through real quickly that account in John chapter 8, verse 1 through 11. Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery, and when they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned, and what sayest thou? This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down, and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself, and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted up himself, and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. So that is John's account of that. Pretty straightforward. We don't know what he was writing, although maybe after we go into the Old Testament and read about this account there, we might have an idea of what he was writing. Usually, people think it was the sins of the rabbis, but I just kind of don't think so. So this situation here, you've got the woman, you got Jesus, you got the woman in adultery, and then you've got these Pharisees and the Torah teachers, the scribes, seeming to probably surrounding them. So any crowd or any observers would have to be outside the circle of the rabbi, so they would not have been able to see what he was writing on the ground. And that's really important to understanding this passage, or at least in my opinion it's important, after we read from the book of Hosea. So Hosea chapter 4, if you go up to verse 1, which I'm not going to quote verse 1, but God is rebuking Israel. He's talking to Israel. And it's probably helpful to read the entire chapter in context. But verse 13, They sacrifice upon the tops of the mountains, and burn incense upon the hills, under oaks and poplars and elms, because the shadow thereof is good. Therefore your daughters shall commit whoredom, and your spouses shall commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery. For themselves are separated with whores, and they sacrifice with harlots. Therefore the people that doth not understand shall fall. I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom. The woman caught in the act of adultery. So this is a promise in the Old Testament not to punish the daughters. The chapter in John, or chapter 8 in John, the account of the woman taken in the act of adultery, that is a fulfillment of this promise in Hosea. So it was a trap, but it was more than just a trap of the rabbis or the Pharisees. It was actually a trap of Satan, because he was testing Jesus to see whether he would keep this promise. Satan may not have realized that Jesus was God yet, or he may have known it and decided to see if he would break this promise. So all these people, you have all these critics who are claiming that Jesus never claimed to be God. It's like, oh, he never said that. I mean, of course, you've got, I think, 7 times where he used the phrase, I am. So just that alone, the crucifixion was about the Pharisees or the rabbis wanting to kill Jesus because he was claiming to be God. So that was the reason they were crucifying him. So this woman in the act of adultery passage, this is actually a deity claim. This is Jesus showing the rabbis that not only was he the Messiah, he was God in the flesh. That's maybe the only reason that the woman caught in the act of adultery is even in the New Testament, is because it's a deity claim. It's not just him saying it, it's him fulfilling a promise that he made as the God of the Old Testament. He's fulfilling it in the New Testament in the flesh. Now this passage it's just way more powerful than anybody teaches in church. I mean, fairness, it just wouldn't have been fair to them because the man wasn't there. What? No, that misses the point completely. Writing the sins on the ground, I think that misses the point too. He was probably quoting this passage from Hosea about, I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom. Wow. And you don't hear that in church. I mean, it's amazing. I've never heard this taught in church, ever. I've never seen it on Christian television. It's like partial blindness has come upon the church until the rapture, or at least the denominational church. Because there's just so much mythology built into denominationalism that they can't even read the Old Testament to find out something as simple as the woman caught in the act of adultery and what that was really talking about. It's a deity claim. When you cut away all this speculation, all this other stuff, it's a deity claim. Jesus is fulfilling a promise he made as a God of the Old Testament. So I would recommend reading the Old Testament, because there are things like that scattered all throughout. I think it's Psalm 19. It defines what perfect is. God told Abraham, "Be ye perfect," and in the New Testament He tells us to be perfect. If you look in the dictionary, it makes no sense. Well, every once in a while the Bible will define the definition of a word, and it defines perfect in Psalm 19 as not willfully sinning. So you can make mistakes all day long, and God still considers you perfect as long as you're not deliberately committing some kind of sin. That's a revelation. It's that means that most of the time God considers us perfect. That's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, you've got 8 hours of sleep where you're not willfully sinning. I mean, how often do you willfully sin? Probably not very often. So most of the time, maybe 90% of the time, God considers you perfect because you're not willfully sinning. And you're going through the day doing all these other things, but none of it's willful sin, or most of it's not. And how long does the sin take? Not long at all, usually. So if it takes a few seconds to commit some kind of sin, and then you're not doing any sin for the next hour, God considers you perfect for that hour, except for those few seconds. So there's stuff like that all through the Old Testament. Anyway, but that's what the woman caught in the act of adultery means. It's Jesus fulfilling a promise that God made. It's a deity claim. So I guess that's about all. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, click like. If you disliked it, click dislike. If you want to see more videos like this with other things pulled out of the Old Testament or out of the New, this just happened to be the Old Testament, then hit the subscribe button. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you next time.